I never thought watering my own damn tomatoes could spark a war with a billionaire busybody who fancied herself the queen of Willow Creek Estates. But there she was, Karen Voss, 250 pounds of entitlement wrapped in Lululemon, screaming at me from across the fence like I'd personally offended her stock portfolio by daring to exist off-grid. And in a twist that still makes my blood boil, she didn't just call the cops. The witch poisoned my well with industrial solvent, turning my family's lifeline into a chemical cocktail that could have killed us all. Little did she know, revenge isn't just a dish best served cold. It's one that lands you in federal cuffs when you fuck with the EPA. It started on a sweltering July afternoon in 2024, the kind where the Georgia sun beats down like God's own broiler, turning the air thick enough to chew. I just sunk my hands into the loamy soil of my backyard garden, the one patch of earth I'd clawed back from the relentless sprawl of Willow Creek's HOA overlords. See, I'm Jake Harlan, 42, ex-Marine turned freelance coder, and after a messy divorce, I'd bought this fixer-upper on the edge of the subdivision 5 years back. It came with a perk the other cookie-cutter McMansions didn't, a private artesian well drilled back in the 50s, pumping sweet, mineral-rich water straight from the aquifer. No city meters, no chlorine tang, just pure, unfiltered freedom in a state where liberty means grilling ribs without a permit. My ex had taken the house in Atlanta, the dog, and half my savings, but she couldn't touch this. Out here in the exurbs of Marietta, 20 miles north of the city, I was building something real. Solar panels on the roof, rain barrels lining the shed, and that garden. Heirloom tomatoes the size of softballs, zucchini that could double as baseball bats, and basil that perfumed the whole yard. It was my therapy, my middle finger to the corporate grind I'd escaped. That day, I was hooking up the well pump to a drip line, conserving every drop like the water bill from hell back in the city had taught me. The hose snaked through the fence into my plot, a gentle hiss feeding the roots without wasting a splash. That's when the screech pierced the haze. What in the hell do you think you're doing, Harlan? This is a gated community, not some redneck homestead. I straightened up, wiping sweat from my brow, and there she was, Karen Voss, perched on her side of the 6-foot cedar fence like a vulture on a branch. She wasn't just any neighbor, she was the neighbor. Widow to a tech mogul who'd cashed out on some fintech scam before keeling over from a sudden heart event last year. Rumor had it stressed from dodging SEC probes. Now, at 58, she ruled Willow Creek's HOA board with an iron fist and a Botox smile. Her net worth north of 9 figures funneled into lawsuits against anyone who dared paint their mailbox taupe instead of approved beige. Karen was a sight, even from a distance. Obese didn't cover it. She was a walking testament to unchecked privilege. 5'4", easily 250, her body a series of undulating waves crammed into capri pants that strained at the seams and a blouse with shoulder pads that hadn't been cool since Reagan. Her face was a map of perpetual dissatisfaction, jowls that wobbled when she yelled, eyes like chipped flint, and lips perpetually pursed as if she'd just sucked a lemon. Blonde hair teased into a helmet of defiance, smelling faintly of Chanel No. 5 mixed with the desperation of too many martinis at the country club. I'd dealt with her before, warnings about my unsightly compost bin, fines for parking my truck in the driveway overnight. But this was personal. "Morning, Mrs. Voss," I said, keeping my tone even, the way you do with cornered animals. "Just irrigating the garden. Well water's free, and the city's got restrictions." Her face purpled. "Irrigating? You're flooding the common area. That runoff is seeping under the fence into my pristine lawn. Do you have any idea what that does to property values? I paid $3.8 for this house. Harlan, $3.8 million. And I won't have your hillbilly hydroponics tanking my equity." She waved a manicured nail like a dagger, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the sun. Behind her, I glimpsed her sprawling backyard. A kidney-shaped pool nobody used, a gazebo that screamed empty nest midlife crisis, and a squad of landscapers on their knees, clipping blades of grass that were already shorter than a politician's promise. I bit back a laugh. Runoff? The garden sloped away from her side. But arguing with Karen was like wrestling a greased pig, futile and messy. I'll adjust the line, ma'am. No harm done. I turned back to the soil, hoping she'd waddle off to her next victim. She didn't. By evening, my mailbox held a certified letter from the HOA. Violation of Covenant 7.2. Unauthorized water usage impacting aesthetic standards. Fine, $500. Remedy within 48 hours or face lien. I crumpled it, seething. This wasn't about water. It was about control. Karen had turned the neighborhood into her fiefdom, evicting a family for too many kids' toys last spring, suing the Millers over a bird feeder that attracted vermin. And me? The off-grid guy with no wife to bake her casseroles or kids to kiss her ass at block parties. I was an easy target. That night, over a beer on my porch, while water chilled in a mason jar, tasting of iron and earth, I plotted my response. Not revenge, not yet. Just pushback. I fired off an email to the board, CC&G all members, citing Georgia water rights law. Private wells are grandfathered. No HOA jurisdiction. Attached photos of the garden's containment berms. Proof of zero runoff. See you at the next meeting. I signed off. Childish? Maybe. But in America, paperwork is the great equalizer. The meeting was a circus 2 weeks later, in the clubhouse with its foam marble floors and chandeliers that screamed new money regrets. 30 residents milled about, nursing styrofoam cups of Folgers, while Karen held court at the podium, her chair creaking under her weight. She launched into me like a cruise missile. Mr. Harlan's flagrant disregard for our shared standards is an affront to every homeowner here. His vegetable patch, yes, I said it, a vegetable patch, is an eyesore breeding pests and devaluing our oasis. I propose immediate cessation and a $2,000 fine to cover remediation. Murmurs rippled. Old Mr. Patel from down the street nodded. He'd griped about my solar panels blocking his sunset view once. But then Lisa Chun, the young realtor with the Prius, piped up, Karen, Jake's garden is organic, low water. It's sustainable. In this drought, shouldn't we encourage it? A few claps. Karen's eyes bulged. Sustainable? This isn't Portland, Lisa. It's suburbia. We have rules for a reason. I stood, heart pounding but voice steady. Mrs. Voss, with respect, my well predates the HOA by decades. State Code 12-5-2 says you can't regulate private groundwater. And as for aesthetics, I projected my slides, vibrant photos of ruby red tomatoes, kids from the block munching carrots at my last harvest share. This is community, not blight. The vote was close, 16-14 against her motion. She stormed out, muttering about activist infiltrators, her heels clacking like gunfire. I felt a rush, first blood to the little guy. Little did I know, she'd go nuclear. The sabotage hit a month later, subtle at first. My tomatoes yellowed overnight, leaves curling like they'd been flame-kissed. Zucchini rotted on the vine, a slimy gray ooze seeping out. I chalked it up to blight, hit the forums. Reddits are slash gardening, Southern living boards. Fungal issue, they said. Fungicide and prune. But the well water tasted off, bitter, metallic like pennies in your mouth. My dog, Rusty, a lanky mutt who'd follow me home from deployment, lapped at his bowl once and retched, foam flecking his muzzle. I tested it myself first, that DIY streak from too many MacGyver marathons. Vinegar and baking soda for pH. Way off, acidic as battery runoff. Then the strip kit from Home Depot. Nitrates through the roof, heavy metals spiking. My gut twisted. This wasn't natural. I called the county extension office. They suggested a lab send-off. $200 later, the report landed in my inbox. Trichloroethylene, TCE, at 500 parts per billion. EPA limit? 5. That's dry cleaning solvent, cancer in liquid form, leach from Superfund sites, or industrial sabotage. Rage boiled up hot and righteous. Who? Only one person hated me enough. Karen. Her mansion backed right onto my wellhead, hidden in a copse of pine she donated to the HOA for tax write-offs. Access was easy. Cut the lock on the service gate, pour in a jug from her garage, where God knows what solvent her eco-friendly cleaning crew stored. I confronted her at dawn, pounding on her French doors till her live-in maid cracked them, eyes wide. "Mrs. Voss, we need to talk now." She shuffled in, robe askew over her nightgown, hair a bird's nest of fury. "Harlan, it's 6 a.m. This better be good, or I'll have you trespassed." I shoved the lab report under her nose. "TCE in my well. 100 times safe levels. You did this." Her laugh was a bark, jowls quivering. "Me? Don't be absurd. Probably your own shoddy setup. Those solar contraptions leaking who knows what. Swim, I'd bury you in court before breakfast." She slammed the door, but not before I snapped a photo of her smug mug on my phone. That was the spark. I lawyered up, pro bono from environmental nonprofit in Atlanta, Earth Guardians who smelled blood. They looped into Georgia EPD, who dispatched a team that afternoon. Soil samples around the well, water pulls, even air quality checks. By dusk, they traced micro-traces of the contaminant to a disturbed patch of earth near her fence. Fresh tire marks from a golf cart, her signature ride. Karen lawyered up too, naturally, some white shoe firm from Buckhead, billing $1,200 an hour. She denied everything, spun it as anonymous vandalism, even tried countersuing me for defamation. The neighborhood split, half whispering about her overreach, the other half clutching pearls at my witch hunt. Block parties turned tense. Lisa Chun unfriended her on Nextdoor. But the real hook came when the feds knocked. Not just EPD, EPA, with their hazmat suits and warrants. Turns out, tampering with groundwater isn't a slap on the wrist HOA beef. It's a felony under the Clean Water Act. Environmental terrorism, they called it in the press release. And Karen? She'd bragged to her bridge club about teaching that eco-freak a lesson, recorded on a nanny camera maid flipped for immunity. The arrest was poetry in handcuffs, but let's back up to the week it all unraveled, when Willow Creek started feeling less like a neighborhood and more like a pressure cooker with Karen's thumb on the valve. After the EPA soil cores confirmed the spill, straight from a 5-gallon jug of TCE she'd ordered online for pool maintenance, the dumb bitch, I went full scorched earth. Not with pitchforks, with public records. I FOIA'd her property filings, unearthed liens from her late husband's Ponzi-lite schemes, even dug up old society pages where she'd posed with senators at fundraisers, all smiles and caviar, while low-income families in Atlanta choked on smog from the factories her investments propped up. My blog post went viral on day 3. How a billionaire a tyrant turned my water into poison. I kept it factual. Lab reports, timelines, photos of Rusty's vet bills, $800 for kidney flush, but laced with that southern snark that sticks. Y'all, if Privilege was a Superfund site, Karen Voss would be the whole damn list. Shares hit 50K by lunch, picked up by the AJC, then CNN's EcoBeat. Hashtags like Karen Contaminates and Well Water Warrior trended in Georgia. Suddenly, I was fielding calls from podcasters, reporters, even a producer sniffing around for a Netflix true crime special. Karen, of course, counterpunched like a cornered alligator. Her lawyers flooded my inbox with cease and desists, claiming intentional infliction of emotional distress. She took to Facebook Live from her sunroom, perched on a chaise that groaned in sympathy, dabbing at crocodile tears with a monogrammed hanky. This man, this tenant, is slandering me, a grieving widow, over a baseless accusation. I've dedicated my life to this community, who will protect our values if not people like me. Likes poured in from her coven of pearl clutchers, but the comments? Savage. Bitch, you poison a vet's dog? Lock her up. Environmental terrorism for tomatoes? Peak Karen. I watched it all from my kitchen table, well water swapped for bottled Fiji, Rusty curled at my feet with a clean bill but wary eyes. The irony gnawed at me. Here I was the redneck with calloused hands and AF. 150, schooling of Vanderbilt air on consequences. But it stung too, the betrayal. Willow Creek was supposed to be my fresh start, not a battlefield. Neighbors who'd wave hello now cross streets, whispers trailing like smoke. Jake's stirring trouble. Karen's just passionate. Passionate. That's what they called it when a billionaire dumped carcinogens because her ego got bruised. The EPD hearings were a farce at first, held in a strip mall conference room off Roswell Road, fluorescent buzz, and vending machine coffee. Karen arrived in a chauffeured Escalade, flanked by suits who smelled of cigar ash and billable hours. I rolled up in my Tacoma, solo, with a USB drive of evidence and a knot in my gut. The investigator, a no-nonsense woman named Rita, with a Falcon's lanyard and a stare like a hawk, laid it out. Chain of custody on the jug, delivered to Voss Properties LLC, her shell corp for home services. GPS from her golf cart pinged the spill site at 2:17 a.m., 3 days after the HOA defeat. Maid's affidavit. Overheard Karen ranting, "I'll make that well undrinkable if it's the last thing I do." Karen's defense? Coercion. The help is disgruntled. Fired her last month for stealing silver. Lies, all of it, but delivered with that quiver lip tremolo that worked on juries full of good old boys. Rita wasn't buying. She slapped a temporary restraining order on Karen. No contact, no property access, and escalated to the DA. Felony charges, criminal mischief, water pollution, endangerment. Bail set at $250,000, non-negotiable. She posted it in hours, strutting into the county lockup like it was a spa day, but the mugshot? Gold. Circulated faster than a Trump tweet. Puffy face twisted in disdain, eyes screaming, "Do you know who I am?" The internet feasted, memes of her face on toxic waste drums, captioned Karen's new perfume, Ode to Entitlement. Even her bridge ladies distanced, one posting a passive-aggressive prayers for all involved that read like a eulogy for her social calendar. Me? I doubled down. Started a GoFundMe for well remediation. $15K goal, hit $50,000 in a day. Donations from strangers. Vets who'd lost buddies to contaminated bases in Iraq. Single moms raging against corporate polluters. A celeb gardener from HGTV who sent heirloom seeds and a signed book. Willow Creek thawed too. Mr. Patel dropped off samosas with a gruff, "Keep fighting, son." Lisa organized a garden co-op, turning my plot into a neighborhood harvest hub. For the first time, the fence felt less like a border, more like a bridge. But Karen wasn't done. Oh no, she weaponized her wealth like a pro. Private investigators tailed me, shadowy types in unmarked sedans, snapping pics at the Publix. Junk mail floods, fake bills for HOA damages, IRS audit notices that screamed forgery. Then the deep fake. A video dropped on a gossip site, me confessing to spiking her pool with Roundup as payback. Voice matched mine eerily, but the timestamp glitched. Amateur hour. My lawyer laughed it off in court, but it shook me. This woman wasn't just vindictive. She was unhinged, a silver spoon sociopath who'd buy her way out of hell if St. Peter took Venmo. The federal pivot came mid-August, a Thursday scorcher with cicadas droning like a bad omen. I was debugging code for a client, some fintech app, irony not lost, when my phone buzzed. Unknown DC area code. Mr. Harlan? Special Agent Torres, EPA, Criminal Division. We've got probable cause on interstate commerce violations. Ms. Voss sourced that TCE from a supplier in Tennessee, cross state lines. This is domestic eco-terrorism now. Terrorism. The word hung, heavy as humidity. I'd read about Flint, Camp Lejeune, but this? A suburb skirmish escalated to feds? They raided her mansion at dawn next day. Black SUVs screeching up her cul-de-sac like a SWAT movie. Drones buzzed overhead. Neighbors peeking through blinds with phones out. I watched from my roof, binoculars in hand, as agents in windbreakers breached the garage. Shelves of chems, jugs labeled for professional use only, receipts tying it to her Amex Black. Karen emerged in a silk kimono, screeching, "This is private property. I'll sue." Cuffed and Mirandized on her own porte cochere, broadcast live on local news. Her face, blotchy and wild, no filter to save her. The charges stacked: Clean Water Act felony, up to 15 years. Hazardous materials transport, another 5. No bail this time. Flight risk, what with her Cayman accounts. Her lawyers scrambled for a plea, but the judge, a black woman from the old neighborhood with no patience for privilege plays, denied continuance. Ma'am, you poisoned a man's water over a garden dispute. Save the tears for sentencing. Willow Creek exhaled. Barbecues resumed. Fences mended with actual talks over beers. I expanded the garden, added a plaque. Harlan well, poisoned but unbowed. Rusty chased squirrels again, tail a blur. But victory tasted bittersweet. Karen's fall exposed the rot. HOAs as mini dictatorships, billionaires playing God with lives. I testified at her arraignment, voice steady. She didn't just contaminate water, she contaminated trust. The gallery nodded, but her eyes, darting from the defense table, burned with hate. Pure, un adulterated venom. Fall crept in with a vengeance that September, leaves turning crimson like the flush on Karen's cheeks every time her name hit the dockets. The Fed's case was airtight, a prosecutor's wet dream. Emails from her to the Tennessee supplier, discreet delivery, no questions, pinged off VPN she thought hit her tracks. The maid's full deposition dropped like a bomb. Not just the rant, but Karen testing the tainted water on her own roses first. Watch them wilt, just like his precious veggies, cackling as petals browned. Eco-vandalism with a side of sadism. The press ate it up. Headlines screamed billionaire's backyard biohazard in the Times, from HOA hell to federal cell on Fox's legal beat. Even her alma mater, some snooty Southern college, scrubbed her donor plaque overnight. I tried to step back, focus on normalcy. Harvested the resilient squash strains, tough as me, apparently, encoded through nights, the glow of my dual monitors a firewall against the chaos. But normalcy's a luxury when your address is tabloid fodder. Reporters camp my driveway, mics thrust like spears. Jake, any regrets? Think she'll serve time? I'd wave 'em off with a justice ain't regret. Folks, it's accountability. Inside, though, doubts gnawed. Was I the villain here, toppling a queen bee who'd only wanted conformity? Nah, poison's poison, intent or not. Karen's counteroffensive ramped up from the pre-trial holding pen. A cushy federal suite in Atlanta, no orange jumpsuit yet, but close. She flooded the courts with motions, suppression of evidence, maid's testimony fruit of a legal search, change of venue, jury pool prejudiced by media, even a psych eval claiming delusional paranoia from widowhood stress. Her lead attorney, a silver fox named Hargrove who defended Enron execs, spun it poetic. My client is a pillar of philanthropy, targeted by a vengeful neighbor's vendetta. Philanthropy? Please. Her charity was photo ops at soup kitchens, write-offs for the yacht club. The motion hearings were theater, held in the Richard Russell courtroom downtown, all mahogany and echoes. I sat in the gallery, Rusty at home with a sitter, my Earth Guardian's lawyer, sharp as a tack, name of Elena, coaching me through objections. Karen took the stand once, sworn in with a Bible she probably hadn't cracked since cotillion. Under oath, she crumbled just a hair. I may have suggested alternatives to the board, but sabotage? Absurd. Mr. Harlan's the aggressor. His blog incited harassment. Elena cross-examined like a surgeon. Ms. Voss, your Amazon order history shows 3 gallons of TCE purchase post-meeting. Care to explain pool shock for a woman who hasn't swum since Nixon? The jury, 12 Atlantans, mix of nurses, teachers, an Uber driver, didn't flinch. Gasps rippled as Elena projected the cart's GPS map, a red dancing to my well at dark 30. Karen blustered, jowls a quiver, fabricated, deep state nonsense. Hargrove objected, speculative. But the judge, a grizzled vet named Caldwell, overruled with a gavel crack that echoed like thunder. By recess, whispers in the hall turned to bets. 5 years easy. 10, with the endangerment kicker. Outside, the scrum waited. A podcaster from Crime Junkie cornered me. What's the emotional toll, Jake? Forgive her. I paused, the city hum. Horns, pigeons, a gritty underscore. Forgive? Water's life, man. She tried to choke mine out over a grudge. Nah, but pity? Yeah, all that money, and she's rotting in regret. It played well, humanized me without softening the edges. Donations surged. I funneled extras to well-testing kits for rural Georgia, turning poison into purpose. Willow Creek, meanwhile, underwent its own exorcism. The HOA board dissolved amid resignations. Lisa Chun elected interim prez, first order, scrapped through aesthetic fines clause. Neighbors trickled over, Patel with curry recipes, the Millers with a birdhouse collab. One night, over fire pit Ismores, Lisa confessed, Karen recruited me once, said you'd ruin us all with your commune vibes. I almost bought it. We laughed, but hollowed me. How many Karens lurked in cul-de-sacs nationwide, armed with bylaws and grudges? Her plea deal offer came Halloween week, ghosts and ghouls ironic backdrop. 10 years probation, $2 meal restitution, community service at a water nonprofit. Noyal. Hargrove called Elena direct. Generous, considering. Bullshit. Elena related stone-faced. They know the jury's locked. This avoids a trial PR massacre. I'm molded over walks with Rusty. Leaves crunching underfoot. The well pump humming clean now, on filtered city hookup, till remediation wrapped. Probation? She'd lawyer her way to galas while I scrubbed sludge. No. Full trial, I told Elena. Let the truth choke her. The trial kicked off November 4th, Election Day, echo chamber outside. Trump-Biden yard signs clashing like ideologies. Courtroom packed. Feds in rows, reporters sketching, Karen's friends dwindling to a Botox trio in the back, fanning themselves with programs. Opening statements set the tone. Prosecutor, a firebrand Latina named Vasquez, painted Karen as a one-woman Exxon Valdez, ego-fueled and unchecked. Defense, tragic misunderstanding, a queen dethroned by envy. Witnesses piled on. The supplier testified, voice quaking. Lady said it was for personal pest control. Paid cash, extra for quiet. Maid promoted to paralegal on our dime. Teared up, she laughed, ma'am. Said Harlan'll drink his defeat. My turn gutted me most. The stand under lights, Vasquez gentle. Walk us through it, Mr. Harlan. I did. The garden joy, the yellow leaves, Rusty's vomit staining the porch. It wasn't just water she poisoned. It was home. Gallery sniffles, Karen stare daggers, but her hands trembled on the rail. Cross was brutal. Hargrove, all drawl and disdain. Mr. Harlan, isn't it true your blog mocked Ms. Voss personally? Called her a whale in wedge heels. I hadn't deep fake bleed, but stayed cool. No, sir. Facts don't mock, they expose. Judge sustained half his objections, but the seed stuck. Me as agitator, her as victim. Closing arguments sealed it. Vasquez, entitlement isn't a defense. Poison is poison. Hargrove, a momentary lapse in a life of giving. Deliberation dragged 2 days. Thanksgiving Eve tension thick as turkey gravy. I hold up with takeout lo mein. Elena texting updates. Hang tight. Willow Creek sent care packages, pies, notes. Proud of you, neighbor. At 4 p.m. Friday, verdict, guilty, all counts. Gasps, cheers muffled. Karen sagged, makeup cracking like her facade. Sentencing, January, post-holidays, to let the appeals fester. She turned then, first I contacted months. Not hate, defeat. Hollow eyes, a billionaire broken by her own brew. Imagine ściać, no zmierk. Just justice, serve raw. Winter wrapped Willow Creek in a chill that mirrored the frost settling over Karen's empire. Poinsettias wilting in pots she'd once deemed mandatory festive. Sentencing loomed like a storm front, but the real thunder rolled in the fallout. Her assets froze, pending restitution. That $2 mill for my well, plus cleanup for the aquifer plume snaking under 3 lots. Hargrove jumped ship post-verdict, citing ethical conflicts. Her new crew, bargain bin from Duluth, filed appeals on technicalities. Juror bias from media exposure. Laughable. The judge slapped him down in a hearing so terse it felt scripted. Ms. Voss, your actions endangered public health. No amount of pedigree excuses that. I kept my head down, garden dormant under frost cloth, but the spotlight lingered. TEDx invite. From well poison to wellness advocate. I demurred, too raw, but keynote to Sierra Club Gala in Savannah. suit ill-fitting over my flannel sole. America's suburbs hide toxins worse than chemicals, I said, crowd nodding over shrimp and grits. Entitled few, forgotten many. Change starts at the fence line. Checks poured in. I founded Harlan Wells, non-profit kits for off-grid testing, named for the old driller who'd sunk mine in '52. Rusty got a cut. Therapy dog for stress vets, his tail wags a badge. Karen's unraveling was spectator sport. House raids yielded more skeletons. Emails plotting HOA donations to local pauls for zoning favors. Ledgers siphoning widower funds to offshore havens. IRS circled. SEC thawed her husband's cold case. Turns out fintech scam was straight fraud, her complicit via board seat. Society shunned her. Country club revoked membership. Image concerns. Bridge club dissolved. Too awkward. Last holdout? Her yoga instructor, who ghosted after a detox session where Karen ranted about the deep state and Harlan's vendetta. Christmas came quiet for me. Solo tree. String lights on the wellhead. Zoom with deployed buddies, swapping war stories, sans the wars. Elena dropped a bottle of bourbon. To closure. We clinked glasses virtual. Her in a Santa hat, me in flannel. Think she'll flip? She asked. On what? Hubris. I chuckled. But yeah, whispers. Karen's shopping testimony on bigger fish. Atlanta developers who'd inspired her tactics, greasing palms for sprawl that choked rivers. New Year's brought the sentencing, federal courthouse, a zoo of cameras and curiosity. I suited up proper, navy blazer, tie knotted marine tight, and sat front row, Elena beside. Karen shuffled in, chains discreet underpantsuit, no makeup armor. Thinner, somehow, jail slop whittling her to 220, but the scowl etched deeper, eyes sunken pits. Vasquez open-measured. 8 years. Your Honor. Deterrent for the privileged. Defense begged mercy. First offense, remorseful. House arrest, ankle monitor. The judge scanned letters. Mine included, not vengeance, Your Honor. Restoration. But trust rebuilds slow. So should consequences. Karen's? From allies, she's changed. Book club on empathy. Eye roll city. Then her statement, voice a rasp. I lost my way. The community meant everything. Mr. Harlan, I apologize if the gallery stirred. I locked eyes. No nod, just presence. She faltered, trailed off. Judge Caldwell leaned in. Ms. Voss, your if speaks volumes. This court sees intent, not accident. 10 years, Bureau of Prisons. Restitution immediate. No parole eligibility under 5. Gavel fell. Marshals whisked her. No scene, just a wheeze like air from a punctured tire. Outside, Mike swarmed. Vindicated Jake? Bittersweet. I said, Rusty leashed at my feet. Service vest crisp. She'll have time to reflect. Me? I'll plan again. Feeds exploded. Justice for the well. Op-eds on Karen class warfare. Netflix greenlit the docuseries by MLK Day. Spring thawed the garden, seeds sprouting defiant. Willow Creek bloomed co-op. Communal plots, no fences in the veggie rows. I dated a barista named Mia, tattoos and laugh lines, who brewed well-sourced coffee sans irony. We hiked Kennesaw Mountain one April dawn, her hand in mine, aquifer pure below. Heard about your saga, she said. Hero stuff. I shrugged. Just a guy who wouldn't drink the Kool-Aid. Karen's appeals tanked by summer, routed to a supermax in Florida, white-collar wing, but bars all the same. Last I heard, she penned a memoir ghosted by an inmate scribe, entitled No More, A Tycoon's Tumble. Flopped at 147 copies, mostly comps to her pen pals. Bitter? Yeah. Alone in her cell, staring at cinder block. Legacy, a cautionary meme. No billions by back the brew you spilled. Me? I drink deep now. From a new well, drilled clean, bubbling with tomorrow. Revenge? Nah. Reckoning. In America, that's the real vintage. Tart, unfiltered, served straight. Epilogue whispers. Her friends scattered, assets auctioned. My old fence bought as a garden trellis by Lisa. Rusty chases fireflies still, tale a metronome of mercy. And the tomatoes? Ripe as redemption, shared at every potluck. Life watered right grows wild.